I'm Ken Purchase, the Member of Parliament for Wolverhampton North East, and today I'm speaking to Malcolm Wicks, a Member of Parliament for Croydon in London, but also the Minister for Energy. Malcolm has an important portfolio, and right now energy prices and other matters related to his work are very much in the public domain. Malcolm,
Okay, hi.
I wonder whether I can start by asking you about the recent increases that we've all seen either now already on our bills or shortly to be with us, very unwelcome that they are. And could you tell us how that fits in, not just with the rising cost of oil and gas exploitation, but the very considerable profits that companies are reporting even today?
Well, look, I think the main background factor to this is global, it's international. Oil, gas and coal prices are rising very dramatically across the whole world, by factors of 50% or 80%. I'm afraid, therefore, we shouldn't be that surprised that that increase is being passed on to the domestic customer. As for profits, well, we have to see what they are. But let's remember that we are calling on those companies to invest massively in new power stations, renewable technologies and the rest in coming years. And so I'm not going to play the game of saying all profits are wrong. They do need to make some profits for that investment to continue in the future.
Well, as someone who worked for a long time in private industry, I understand the need for profits in order to pay my wages, so that doesn't come as any surprise. But we would all hope, and we put our hope in you to some extent, that the regulators will take full account of the way in which the energy companies are pricing their products and make sure that our constituents, yours and mine, get a good deal out of it.
Certainly the regulator, Ofgem, has that brief, and I've discussed that with them. Meanwhile, Ken, of course, we've all got a duty to make sure that the poorest people and the most frail elderly people are protected. Now, as you know, Ken, there's a lot of help available, winter fuel payments, warm front programmes. You've been to visit your constituents who've got new insulation, new heating systems. I've done that with my constituents. I want to make sure the most vulnerable actually receive that help. Sometimes, as you know, there is a problem that some of the people who really need the support, for whatever reason, don't hear about it, don't get it. We've all got a duty to make sure that they do get that help.
Well, I think there's some really good work going on in that direction. But could I move on a little, because people will also be concerned if it's not at the top of their agenda now, about the management of nuclear waste and the government's intention to make nuclear a permanent part of the energy mix. They'll be concerned because of press reports and other things that they know of, that perhaps the science and the technology are very, very advanced in this area of nuclear generation of electricity, but can we have confidence that the management of that process, and above all the storage and management of the waste, doesn't present us with a serious threat to our health and well-being?
Well, I mean, first, the government has made the decision, as you've said, that nuclear should be part of the mix. I think for two reasons. One, about global warming. When the nuclear reactors are up and running, they're a clean and green source of energy. And also, Ken, I'm very worried that in the future we don't want to become over-dependent for our energy on foreign countries and foreign regions, because there's going to be this huge global grab for energy going on. We've got to have our fair share. That means, as it were, growing more of our energy through nuclear and renewables here in Britain. Now, on your question, we have a number of expert bodies, the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, responsible for looking after the waste. We also have a nuclear inspectorate that check all the nuclear stations. And I'm very confident that we do have the expertise in this country in terms of nuclear to make sure that the processes are done diligently and are done with a real concern about safety and security.
Well, Malcolm, that is reassuring, and you may be sure that backbench members will be doing their best to hold you to these promises.
Absolutely.
In the future generations. In fact, you may not even be there, and I certainly won't. But let me just move on to this question of renewables. We all talk a good fight on these, but in truth we're not making that much progress, are we? Are we putting enough into both the research and indeed just pure cash and resources into trying to find a way forward on renewables that could in fact help to make us free of foreign need in regard to our energy supply?
We started from a low position, and when I think about the reasons for that, probably the major reason was the abundance of oil and gas in our own North Seas. That was our energy supply. That is now still abundant, but it's in decline. Every year now we're seeing major gains in terms of renewables. At the moment, just 4 or 5% of our electricity comes from renewables, wind turbines and the rest. That's going to grow to at least 15% by 2015. And actually, because of European targets, we now need to do far more. I mean, just one example, the London Array on the Thames estuary will be the world's largest offshore wind farm. You know, we're blessed with a lot of wind power in Britain, and we're going to make sure that we make full use of it. I also want to ensure that British companies and British industry is ahead of the game in terms of some of the newer technologies like wave and tidal power. We have fierce tides around Britain, and they're technologies that British companies are exploiting. So I see battling global warming as not only an important thing in itself, but also as a big commercial opportunity for British industry, and therefore a source of really well-paid, skilled jobs as this 21st century develops.
Well, Malcolm, thank you very much for those answers. I could go on, but I think my constituents who may be seeing this webcam will be wanting to put questions to me, and I'll no doubt have to come back to you for some of the answers. But in the meantime, thank you very much for today.
Ken, good to be on the show.